Hey everybody, my name is Jake Smith. I am a comic book artist for IDW Publishing, currently finishing up the last issue of Godzilla War for Humanity, on sale right now. I was asked by TOHO very graciously to do a how to draw Godzilla in my style video, so I'm going to show you how I draw the Godzilla that is presented in War for Humanity. So let's go ahead and get started. So we're going to be drawing the War for Humanity version of Godzilla that is in the book I'm doing. This is how I generally start every page when I have a page with the Godzilla. So we're gonna do his full body. So I like to start with this kind of like weird, I cannot describe the shape, the top of a mushroom. And I like to do a cross through the middle of the face just to get the center. Right at that like cross is where his eyebrows are gonna be. And it's kind of this going back motion. And then we get his snout. What I learned over drawing Godzilla is it's shorter than you would, or at least I thought it would be when I first started. And here's the nose. Also a big thing is keep his nose small. Usually I would start with the simpler shapes. So let's start with his neck. You're gonna go kind of from the side of his head, and that's where his neck starts. I kind of imagine he does have ears, but I imagine where a human's ears would be. You go around to the other side, and that's where the other side of his neck would be. Also, he's got a very long neck. And the key I have found to drawing kaiju is to use the spiral method, which is what I use. In perspective, I will do these spirals to kind of see where shapes are. And it's really good for a kaiju because they're typically just giant shapes. My version has a ripped chest that's not like typical. There's the 80s version that has the 3 sections. I gave mine a ripped pecs and a little bit of a belly with spikes all over it. An easy way to get his whole body is I like to go from neck to tail. I will literally do this to find the shape I want. I will do a spiral. If you think about it like it's a shoulder pad, like a football shoulder pad, this whole area. And really his actual body continues from his neck, and you would spiral out and then spiral down his tail. And then that's how I usually find his shape. The really hard way to do it is find a perspective you want to do. Like I always like to start in the center. And then you would take this and you'd spiral out from it. But the way it would work is now his belly is right here. His girthy little belly. You'd find his leg by kind of finding like this shape. Now with the War for Humanity version of Godzilla, I've got him all sectioned out like these, I wish I had like technical terms for it, but I've got these, he's ribbed, I guess you would say. And his neck has 3 pieces, and then his chest doesn't. His chest is all scaly, and then the arms are separated into sections as well. And he has short little arms. And same thing on this side. I like to give him that classic 80s Godzilla pose where he's always coming out of the water with his little T-Rex arms in front of him. But the biggest thing I would say that I like to utilize while drawing any of the kaiju is the spiral method. It really makes things easier. The leg is this shape. And then if you want to find the ribbing, you go from the base and you go like this. And then he has these big thighs, and then you do the same thing over here. We're gonna find the tail, and then I'll show you his back. From this angle, you can't really see his fins super well, like really in the way his body is. You would literally not be able to see it because his fins are very specific, and in War for Humanity version, they're a little bit different than the typical one. I was kind of designing Godzilla on this book with the idea that if this was a new movie in a new era, a new actor would play Godzilla and there'd be a new suit. So I wanted to kind of make like a hybrid version. Mine's like a Showa mixed with the Biollante, Godzilla versus Biollante Godzilla, mixed with just a little bit of all the ones I like. Up at his head, Godzilla has typically not the huge eyes, but in the War for Humanity version, ours is a little aimed at a younger audience. So I just wanted to give Godzilla big cute eyes. You think of Godzilla's skull as kind of going from the eyebrows. But I gave him the 80s eyes where when we color it, it's red around the edge and then yellow in the middle. But yeah, round on both sides. And then I give him a tiny bit of a point at the top of his head. The Showa era would be his eyes are most of the head, and you go, like his eyes would be up here if he was Showa. And then I gave him the pointy ears from the 80s as well. And then the eyelids. Depending on the era, the amount of spikes on the head is different. On mine, I opted to give Godzilla 3 rows of spikes going from the center of the eyebrows and kind of expanding, like spreading out from there. And then you would go around the eyebrow, down, and around to give that illusion that it's receding into space. And then I gave this version of Godzilla the 80s large side teeth, and then in his mouth we've got the like skin that separates the top and the bottom of his jaw, and then his little chinny chin. And then you can do all sorts of teeth if you want to go really accurate. You do a bunch of little crisscrossy teeth. My version in the book is a little bit different than that, but for this little drawing, give him more classic teeth. But yeah, we go to his haunch. So the way I kind of do it too is his elbow is like just the tiniest bit right above his haunch. His legs go up really high, and then you give him the flaps that go above the knee. So when you're drawing the foot, you draw these 3 cone shapes coming from, if you take it from the base of the leg and pick the center, you would go towards that because that's how our tendons are. You do that, and then on the same side, I would go from the center and go like that in perspective, and then to find the toes. And if you want to make sure, I always go from the other side so it's symmetrical. And we do the spiral method too, especially on like this one that's kind of for shortening towards you. So this one's going right kind of more at you, so you would start at this and you do a spiral to find the shape. And that's just how I find perspective on most things. And then the ribs too, I do 3 ribs on each part of the leg. So this would have 3. Yeah, put the ribbing in. The ribbing in over here. And a lot of this gets cleaned up in ink, so I'm going to ink this as well. So in inking, that's kind of where I get to do all the fun stuff that makes Godzilla cool, like the spikes and scales and all that, so the texture, I'll do that in the inks. And then the tail, I'm going to have it coming over to the side a little bit so you can see it, but the way Godzilla's body is shaped, it would be very hard for his tail to just directly go to the side. So it pains me, but it's for demonstration. And then same thing, just ribs all the way up, and they get smaller as his tail gets longer. So the spikes are in a row of 3. Like I'm gonna use these 3 lines, and you kind of go to the tip. 1, 2, and then a third one. They start at the base of his neck. So this is a side view, really quick, if you want to learn how to do a side view. So the way with the fins on War for Humanity, I do these very specific sharp, much sharper fins. I do a spike going towards me, I guess, and then a spike away, and a spike towards, spike away, and it goes higher, and then it goes to the base. So each fin on my version looks like this. And when it's lit up, I kind of do it more scratchy lines, and then kind of use light and shadow to make it look like it's lighting up. And then if it's not lit up, then I do this scratchy, like just the texture of Godzilla's fins, and I try to do it with like lighting in mind. The row closest to us is small, and it gets bigger and bigger, and then the middle row is the biggest row, and they start a little bit bigger than the one closest to you, if that makes sense. In the middle of his back is his biggest spike, and then it goes and gets smaller and smaller and smaller. And then you would continue that down the tail. So, and then you can put it into perspective, and then that would go all the way out. And then what I like to do at the very end is it's not sharp anymore. In my head, they're sharp, 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 and then they get dull, and then they become little nice little spikes, and they're not mean. Same thing in the middle here. The middle row starts a little bit bigger, smaller and smaller and smaller until they're just little round baby spikes. And then there's a third row behind. So the outside rows are the same size and the middle row is taller. And that's my version. Godzilla's hands, same thing as his toes, 3 fingers. And again, for fingers, I use the spiral because it just makes it easier. There's a nail, and then the outside skin kind of envelops it like that. And then the rest is basically a normal kind of hand. Hands are hard, so I'm assuming it's just you've already mastered hands. And then his thumb, and then we do the other one. This one's more foreshortened and coming at you, so it's a little harder. What I like to do when I draw a hand is I draw it like this first. This kind of like flat on top, and it's a longer circle, like a cut in half oval. This is it, just straight at you, and then this is the in perspective coming towards you. And so I do that on Godzilla's hand as well, to do it when it's coming kind of at you. All right, now we're gonna ink, and we're gonna speed this up, but I am going to stop every once in a while and tell you how I think about the texture of Godzilla, because I think this is where Godzilla starts to pop. With inking, some easy tricks when you're first starting out, because this took me a while, is the lines that are closer to the light source are thinner, and then the lines that you draw farther away are thicker. It might sound simple and like, oh, well, duh. That took me a long time to figure out, and it made it click way faster. So I'm imagining that Godzilla's getting hit from light. He's getting hit from the northeast. So the lines closer to the light would be thinner, and that'll give the illusion that Godzilla's round. Okay, so on Godzilla's ribbed neck, I don't connect it. Like I wouldn't do a continual line. I kind of do these unconnected lines. The idea is that the ribs are round, and then they kind of go in a little bit and then come out and around. And then on the forehead spikes, because the light is coming from this direction, I cast a little shadow on this side so that it looks like the light is shining over. Because light is huge with the kaiju especially, because if light is off a little bit, your mind doesn't really make you feel like they're big. And I'm obsessed with trying to trick your eyes into really thinking they're huge. Okay, so on the texture of Godzilla's scales, they kind of change movie to movie. Like the Showa Heisei era is like rocky, and I kind of am doing that kind of texture. The Millennium era is all spikes. So my texture that I use on the War of Humanity is like a combo of Showa era and Heisei era. So I do this kind of jagged, like almost like I'm dragging across the paper. And what I like to find is where would it be darkest. So in my mind, it would be darkest right here. So I kind of do like a squiggle shape on. So right here would be the darkest in my head. The light's hitting like right here. I always like to give Godzilla rim lighting as if the dorsal fins are glowing. From here, I go from the darkest and then get lighter. And I do this kind of like drag it across the paper and get a little bit less and a little bit less. And it gives it like the illusion of light getting darker to lighter. And on his face, same thing, but I do really small little texture, but I start with the light. The light would be hitting here, so it would be just a couple of little spots of texture. And then as you get farther away from where the light is, you would get more dark. On Godzilla's belly, in my version, I think of it like he has like abs, but they're made of spikes. So the shape would be this like bulging just a little bit out and then going out like this. So this would be the shape. And then the chest goes around that shape. I just do these spikes. And they kind of do this texture all over, and that's basically Godzilla. I like to leave some rim lighting over here just for dramatic effect. Now with the spikes, we're going to do like they're lit up just for fun. So I can show you the type of shadow that you can make to emulate that the fins are glowing. Now just for clarification on the back, dorsal fin wise, to the big one in the middle of his back, just in case you want to know, it goes 1, 2, 3. So the third one is the big one, and then from that it goes down. So it would be 1, 2, 3, and then 2 more after. I like to do 6 of the main big middle dorsal fins, and then from there, and then they kind of get smaller as they go down the rest of the tail. Okay, we've got the contours. I've already done a little bit of the shadow, but then you just go back in and add more of the texture. The trick around the tail is you kind of act like this is its own light source, so it's glowing from every direction. So I would imagine the first time you would see the shadow of the texture, it would be like right here. So you can even draw a line around where the shadow is going to start all the way up. Some of these little bits would catch some light and make some shadow, but then once you get down here, it's going to be pretty dark. And then you add a tiny bit of a curve because it's going around each rib of the tail. I'm actually going to make it even darker so the light is really prominent. Because if it looks like the light from the fins is fighting with the light of like the bouncing light off of the ground or the floor, and it looks like it's equal with the dorsal fin light, then for whatever reason the dorsal fin light doesn't feel powerful. So you want to make that the like most extreme light source. And with the toes, I like to make it have this kind of cracked bone texture. So I do this kind of starting from the edge and squiggles with little breaks in the middle. And then I do more on the side away from the light. We've got Godzilla, and here is the final piece to making it really look like the big G. You add a building, right? Because then your brain switches and they're big. And a sign, there's a lot of signs, especially in Tokyo. There's a lot of signs if you really want to sell the Tokyo vibe. Another little trick I have found to make Godzilla look really big is put birds everywhere. And then your mind goes, those are birds. That means Godzilla must be huge. And on my version of Godzilla, I like to put little battle scars. I'll take a whiteout pen, and I like to imagine Godzilla's been fighting other monsters for millennia. And then I'll add a little shimmer to the eye just to give a little cuteness, because we all know Godzilla's pretty cute. Okay, well, that's how I draw Godzilla. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please go check out War for Humanity on sale right now. If you want to buy some of the Godzilla original pages from the book, go to inkyknuckles.com. That's where we're selling all the crazy fights and original art from the book. And just want to thank TOHO for asking me to do this video. It was really fun. Hope you enjoyed it. Yeah. Bye.